Good morning and welcome to our Net Studio. Today we're talking about a very interesting topic. What are batteries? Boat batteries are devices that store electrical energy to be used as a power source for the various systems on the boat. They need to be chosen based on the specific needs of your electrical system and how you use it. But what are they for? It might seem obvious, but batteries are used to provide electrical power to the various systems on the boat, such as lights, electronic equipment, and navigation systems. There are different types of batteries that I want to summarize. Lead-acid batteries with liquid electrolyte. This system was theorized in 1859, and even today it's still used for traditional batteries. A liquid, in this case sulfuric acid, acts as the electrolyte. They can be open, in which case we can refill them with distilled water, or sealed and maintenance-free. They handle voltage overcharge as well, but the downside is that since the electrodes are immersed in a liquid, they don't handle the marine environment very well. Worse than the other three types we'll look at next. They need to be installed in well-ventilated compartments and aren't great when it comes to heat resistance. Gel batteries. Based on lead-acid technology, they use a gel as the electrolyte, sealed inside a compartment of the battery. They're considered sealed batteries and don't require maintenance. They're safer than the previous type since they're not affected by sudden movements and don't emit potentially dangerous gases. They can be installed in less ventilated areas. However, these batteries are sensitive to voltage spikes during charging, so you need to use the right charger and system. If properly maintained, the lifespan of these batteries is longer than the first type we discussed. AGM batteries absorb glass mat, like this one. As the name suggests, the electrolyte is held in place by fiberglass elements. These batteries are also based on lead-acid technology, but they don't require maintenance since they're sealed. They offer the same advantages as gel batteries, but are even more robust, last longer, and lose less charge when not in use. These are batteries that can be used both for starting the engine, like in this case, and for onboard services, but on two separate systems. They are powerful, but at the same time can have enough capacity to meet the energy needs of the entire boat. Lithium batteries. The last and most recent type of batteries are lithium batteries, which are now widespread in all modern electronic devices. These batteries actually use lithium in the form of ions, and they offer many advantages. They're extremely resistant to charge and discharge cycles, which is exactly why batteries are used. They have a higher energy density, which means less weight and less space needed to store them. Moreover, they will operate at full capacity right up until the end of their life cycle. These are batteries that don't require maintenance, but they definitely need a dedicated charging system. They're still a bit expensive. In any case, and as I always add, you must pay close attention to following the manufacturer's instructions. By doing so, you ensure a large number of possible recharge cycles and a total active lifespan even longer than previous ones. To put it simply, you'll need to consider how the battery will be used. Will it be the engine battery or one of the service batteries? In the first case, you'll need a battery with a high starting current, while in the second, a battery with high capacity. There are also hybrid batteries that can be used for small boats. At the moment, I prefer AGM batteries. They're safe and can be used both for services and for the engine. AGMs also require no maintenance and can be installed pretty much anywhere. On Valley Lock Row, I use an AGM engine battery, 12 volts, 75 amps, and two separate battery packs for services. Keep in mind that you'll need to consider several factors in addition to distinguishing between engine and services, such as capacity. It needs to be enough to meet your needs, so you'll have to roughly calculate how much your boat consumes and how much you might use with your tablet, PC, and phone. The type of usage. If it's for cruising, go for batteries with a large capacity, but if you just do day sailing, then a small battery will be enough. The charging system. Is your battery charging system compatible with that type of battery? Don't bring a battery that measures 50 by 30 by 30 and weighs 60 kilograms onto a 5-meter boat. And last but not least, the price. Battery costs vary a lot, but so do their performance. The top of the line isn't always the best, but it's definitely never a good idea to skimp too much on quality. In general, it's important to consider your own needs and make a thoughtful choice among the various options available. If you decide to buy more than one battery, you'll need to choose ones of the same type and the same amperage. Absolutely do not create mixed systems with lead, liquid acid, gel, or AGM batteries. Please, if you still have any doubts, you can activate the free consultation you'll find at the link right below in the first comment. Boat batteries can be installed in various positions, depending on the type of boat and specific needs. Generally, the most common positions for installing batteries are in the engine compartment, which is a typical spot for motorboats, because it allows you to keep the batteries close to the engine in the main electrical system. In a compartment in the stern area, which is a particularly suitable position for sailboats because in this way the batteries are far from the engine and electronic equipment, thus reducing the risk of overheating. In a specially created compartment below deck, which is perhaps the best position since it allows you to keep the batteries in a protected and dry place. In general, it's important to install the batteries in a dry and ventilated place, away from sources of heat or combustion, and in such a way that they're easy to access for any maintenance or cleaning. The lifespan of batteries is always an unknown. In reality, it primarily depends on the type you choose and secondly on how you use them and the conditions in which they are used. Lead-acid batteries can last up to 3 years, while AGM batteries can even last 10 years. Following a few rules will allow you to extend their lifespan, but more importantly, their efficiency. Don't let the batteries discharge beyond 50% of their capacity if they're not lithium. Basically, try not to let them drop below 12 volts. Don't leave the batteries discharged, especially for long periods, and when you recharge them, do it all the way to full charge. No battery likes to be only half charged. Keep the batteries in a dry place and check the connections from time to time. Checking the connections is a must on a boat for all equipment, not just a battery. Try not to leave the batteries in extreme temperatures, whether too hot or too cold. To determine when to replace the batteries, you can use a battery tester to check voltage and capacity. If the voltage is below 12 volts or the capacity is less than 75% of the original, it's probably time to replace the batteries. More simply, you'll notice it because the charge will last less and less and recharging will take longer and longer. That's when it's time to change the batteries. As always, it's important to follow the manufacturer's instructions to determine battery life and to ensure your boat's electrical system works optimally. Connecting the batteries is a relatively simple job, but from experience, I know that many boats have multiple service batteries connected, some in parallel, some in series. So if you're not sure what you're doing, get help from a technician who knows what they're doing. We'll look together at how to install a battery pack, which in our case is an additional one since it'll be used exclusively for managing our computers and an inverter. There are 2 ways to connect a battery pack, either in parallel or in series. By connecting the batteries in series, you get double the voltage, but the amperage stays the same. So if you have a 6-volt battery and another 6-volt battery, it becomes 12 volts, but the amperage, let's say 200, remains the same. In this case, I'm going to do the opposite. I'll connect them in parallel. That means the voltage stays at 12 volts because these are 12-volt batteries, but the amperage will double. So 240 amps from this one plus 240 amps from the one we're going to install. Make sure the batteries have the same capacity. Because of space constraints, these batteries will be installed. One will go in this compartment, which I've made watertight, since the water passes through a pipe underneath without getting anything wet. Everything. Or it might pass through here on the side, and another will be placed in this bench. So there'll be one on top of the other. Dual AGM batteries, like in this case, can handle this because they can also withstand high temperatures. If, on the other hand, you have regular lead-acid batteries, try to place them side by side. Even so, as I've already mentioned, I recommend AGM batteries for boats. So this battery will stay underneath, and from the positive and negative terminals, 2 connectors will come out to attach and connect to the battery above. Let's take a look together at how to make the connectors. But first, you need to remove the insulation. All right, here it is. Once we have carefully exposed the inner core of the cable, you will then need to securely insert the terminal into place. There you go. After that, you need to crimp it. Let's select the right size on the crimping tool. This is an old style crimping tool, but it works perfectly. The head is inserted. And we go to cramp. If you want a more refined job, you will put on a thermal sheath. If you don't have thermal sheathing, you can use some electrical tape. And voila! We will repeat this process for... You need to check all 4 ends of the cable. So I have personally seen several different systems that use all black wire or even all red wire throughout the setup. In my opinion, that's misleading, and it's also dangerous. So for each pole, use its own color so you never get confused. The next step is to put on the terminals so you can then connect the jumpers. This is the terminal. Now we push it down and close it. And this is the negative. We'll attach the jumper like this, so it will go from negative to negative. This is the series connection. I crimp the jumper this way because one end will be here and the other will be down here, underneath. Now putting the nut and lock nut on the terminal. Now we're securing the last jumper, which is the one that goes from positive to positive. Once everything's wired up, the batteries will be in parallel. To connect to the inverter, we'll use the negative from one battery and the positive from the other battery. Once you've finished connecting, tighten everything well and cover it up. If you have an instrument on the control panel, take a look to see if the voltage is correct. Otherwise, use a tester. The boat's batteries can be recharged using different energy sources, but the main one is definitely the engine of your vessel. When you start the engine, the alternator generates current and sends it to the regulator or charge distributor, which intelligently decides which battery to charge. Connecting to the 220-volt dock power in the marina is a good way to recharge the batteries if you have a battery charger on board. Another great way to recharge the batteries is with solar panels or wind turbines. If you're sailing, hopefully there's wind. Now that you know everything about batteries, you can make your choice. Just a reminder, if you still have any doubts, you can activate the free consultation you'll find in the link right below in the first comment. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos. Fair winds to you. Not too little, not too much, but just right.